Good evening, my loves, and welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Mommy J. And tonight we're continuing with The Day My Butt Went Psycho, based on a true story by Andy Griffiths. And we are on chapter 4D. All right. And remember, they're going back to Ned's place to discuss how they're going to get through this windy desert. 1 hour later, after Ned had managed to convince the B team that at the very least it would be folly to attempt to cross the great windy desert without the benefit of his spare oxygen tanks, they were sitting at Ned's shack while he prepared a meal. "I hope you're hungry," said Ned, "because there's plenty here." Zach was surprised at how spacious Ned's shack was. It appeared to have been cobbled together mostly from the debris of crashed Buttmobiles. The chairs had been ripped from Buttmobile cockpits, the windows made from their windshields. Ned placed an enormous colander of what looked like steamy dark green seaweed on the table in front of the group. Whatever it was, Zach didn't think it looked very appetizing, and it smelled even worse. But that was heaven compared to what came next. Ned placed a sizzling frying pan on the table. It was full of something that was bright red, and the smell of which made Zach's eyes water and his nose burn. "Well, don't be shy," said Ned. "Eat up. Needleweeds and stink ants are best eaten hot." "Needleweeds and stink ants," said Eleanor. Zach could see he was not alone in his reaction. He watched as everybody at the table except for Ned sat there, smiling politely, not knowing whether to vomit or to simply pass out. "Don't worry," said Ned. "I've deneedled the needleweeds, and I've unstunk the ants. It's perfectly safe and very nutritious. I've eaten nothing else for years now." And so saying, he heaped a large steaming pile of needleweeds onto his plate, sprinkled it with the stink ants, and placed a big spoonful in his mouth. Then he pushed a colander towards the kicker. "I'd rather eat dog poop," muttered the kicker. The smacker gave him a huge jolt with her elbow. Ned looked up. His mouth was full of needleweeds, and he was frowning. "I beg your pardon," he said. "I'd better dig in quick," said the smacker, seizing the serving forks and putting a small amount on the kicker's plate. "Because it looks so delicious, it might not last long." "Oh, no need to worry about that," said Ned. "There is no shortage. This is the great windy desert, you know. If we run out, I can easily scare up some more." The smacker served the kicker, ladled out a tiny amount for herself, and then pushed the bowl across the table to the kisser and Eleanor, whose faces were both white. "After you," said the kisser to Eleanor, pushing the bowl toward her. "No, after you," said Eleanor, pushing it back. "No, no, no," said the kisser. "Ladies first, I insist." "You're too kind," said Eleanor, her eyes narrowed. "Don't mention it," said the kisser. "Oh, but you are," said Eleanor, taking the serving forks. "The least I can do is to serve you first." And with that, Eleanor began piling the kisser's plate with the evil-smelling concoction. "That's enough," said the kisser. "No more, I beg you." "Don't be silly. You haven't even got any stink ants yet," said Eleanor, upending most of the bowl onto his plate. "Yup," said Ned, who was shoveling his food into his mouth at an incredible rate. "Great source of protein. What about you, Zach? Not eating?" Zach was trying to think of an excuse for not eating when Eleanor grabbed his plate. "I was just about to serve him," she said. "No, that's quite all right," said Zach, trying to grab his plate back. But Eleanor was too quick. She piled what remained of the needleweeds onto his plate along with what was left of the stink ants. "There you go," she said, flashing Zach the fakest sweet smile he ever seen. "Eat it all up now. That's a good boy." "Thanks," he said. "But what about you? Don't you want some too?" "I love to," she said, "but I'm on a diet. I can eat pretty much anything I want except for stink ants and needleweeds. It's a pity. They look delicious." "I've got some spurts in the cupboard," said Ned, "left over from the last plague. They're a bit dry, but quite edible." "No, it's okay, thanks," said Eleanor quickly. "Besides, I'd better get our gear ready. We've got a long trek ahead of us, and we want to get as far as we can before sunset." "Okay," said Ned, picking up his plate and licking it clean. "I'll come and prepare your oxygen tanks." Zach sat there and stared at the big green pile in front of him. The kicker was right. Dog puke would be better than this. He picked up a forkful of the seaweed-like needleweeds and put them in his mouth. He tried to chew it, but felt the urge to vomit again. "Excuse me, Ned," said Zach. "Which way to the bathroom?" "End of the corridor," he said. Zach ran. He went in, shut the door, and knelt down in front of the toilet bowl. But away from the smell of dinner and the stench of Ned, he felt instantly better. He looked around the bathroom. Like the rest of the house, it had been put together from the remains of Buttmobiles. There was a 44-gallon drum that had been cut in half to form a bath and a sheet of stainless steel attached to the bathroom wall to serve as a mirror. Beside it was a large cabinet. It looked like the cabinet that housed the butt gun arsenal in Eleanor's Buttmobile. Zach pulled it open, curious to see if Ned kept the same array of weapons. But what he saw was unexpected. There was every type of soap, perfume, and BO spray you could imagine. Cakes of soap stacked high, liquid soap dispensers, roll-on deodorants, stick deodorants, spray deodorants, at least 50 different bottles of perfumes, mouthwash, and aftershave, as well as 30 different brands of toothpaste. Poor Ned, thought Zach. He salvaged and presumably used all these products, and yet he still smelled terrible. And there he was trying to look after them, and all they could do in return was be rude about his food. Zach went back to the table. The others had left. Their plates were still full of food. Zach grabbed a spoon and started to eat. He didn't stop until he'd eaten everything on his plate. Then he ate everybody else's servings as well. And we're going to stop right there, my sweets. Make sure you guys brush your teeth, say your prayers, and have very, very blessed sweet dreams tonight. Hugs and kisses. Love you. Mwah. Good night.